Hi, I am Anna. I come from www.ntvforex.com. Stock rally espite mixed corporate earnings. http ntvforex.com news ID 1BBF83 7/23/2026 57:37 am. U.S. stocks have returned to growth after a wobbling session on Wednesday. During the turbulent session, investors focused on mixed quarterly reporting and the debate over further stimulus. The benchmark S&P 500 index rose 0.62%, and Dow added 0.57%. Nasdaq was more modest, securing a gain of 0.24%. Still, the tech-oriented index is up over 19% year-to-date, leaving the other two indices way behind. The U.S. Congress is still divided on the new stimulus package, as Democrats and Republicans can't agree on the amount and other details about 2 weeks before the current stimulus measures expire. Meanwhile, the number of coronavirus cases is quietly advancing in the U.S. and worldwide. The global daily figure updated the record yesterday. The U.S. reported over 1,100 fatalities for the first time since late May. Still, the hope for new stimulus, optimism around vaccines, and the earnings season supported the rally. On Wednesday, 75 companies tracked by S&P 500 posted results, and 77.3% of them have beaten forecasts. However, it's mainly because the expectations were pushed down amid the coronavirus panic. In annual terms, the aggregate S&P 500 earnings in the second quarter tumbled over 40%. Stay on top of the markets with Swissquote's News Amp analysis. Asian stocks cannot leverage the upbeat tone of the U.S. market, as the Sino-U.S. tensions hit investor risk appetite. The U.S. government ordered China to close its consulate in Houston in an effort to protect intellectual property. The Trump administration accused China of stealing research and illegal spying. Asia's largest economy condemned the U.S. decision and might consider closing the U.S. consulate in Wuhan. At the time of writing, China's Shanghai Composite is down 0.86%, recovering some earlier losses. The Shenzhen component has declined by 1.31%. South Korea's Kospi is down 0.41%. The country fell into recession in the second quarter, reporting the biggest contraction in over 20 years. South Korea's GDP fell 3.3% in the 3 months to June compared to the previous quarter, while economists expected a 2.2% drop. Exports, which account for about 40% of GDP, tumbled by 16.6%, which is the worst performance since 1963. Hong Kong's Hang Seng has managed to recover from initial losses and is now up 0.53% even though the city reported the highest daily number of COVID cases on Wednesday. Australia's ASX 200 is up 0.29%. Japanese markets are now closed in observance of Marine Day, though Nikkei futures are down. In individual corporate news, Tesla surged 5% in after-hours trading as the company reported Q2 earnings and revenue that beat expectations by a margin. The electric automaker stated that it was about to exceed the 500,000 annual deliveries target despite interruptions caused by the pandemic. The company announced EPS of $2.18 on revenue of $6.04 billion, versus an expected negative EPS on revenue of $5 billion. Pfizer rose over 5% after the U.S. government said that it would pay about $2 billion for 100 million doses of their coronavirus vaccine candidate. Microsoft reported Q4 earnings and revenue that beat forecasts, but slowing revenue in the cloud division deteriorated investors' sentiment. The share price fell about 3% after the close. In the commodity market, gold updated the 9-year peak, as the rising tensions between the U.S. and China are pushing investors to safe havens. The metal still has some room until the record peak, and investors will likely challenge it. The economic recovery is much slower than initially expected, and the fears of a second wave of the pandemic will highlight the need for reliable safe havens. Gold futures are up 0.20% to $1,869.35. Oil prices advanced on Thursday, though the rally is capped given the unexpected increase in U.S. oil reserve. Meanwhile, consumption is damaged by the pandemic. The Energy Information Administration (EIA) said that crude inventories increased by 4.9 million barrels in the week to July 17, while analysts expected a decline of 2.1 million barrels. In FX, the US dollar could benefit from the rising US-China tensions. The USD index declined 0.15% to 94.785. Elsewhere, the euro still leverages the upbeat sentiment after European leaders approved a recovery fund to ease the impact of the pandemic. Euro USD is up 0.19% to 1.1590. Finally, the pound is up against the greenback and down versus the euro. The British currency is under pressure after the Telegraph reported yesterday that the government led by Prime Minister Boris Johnson is close to abandoning trade negotiations with the EU. Subscribe our channel to receive the news as soon as possible. Thank you for watching. If you want to read real-time news, text messages to MT5 Expert Advisors page at https://m.me/mt5.expert.advisors.